Ladies and gentlemen, this case could possibly go to the Supreme Court. Judge who ruled against Trump flights will oversee Signal lawsuit. There's a very amusing lawsuit against President Trump's administration by a left-leaning organization stating that President Trump did not comply with laws pertaining to government records. Ignoring less than 10 years ago, or around 10 years ago, Clinton literally deleting the Secretary of State running for president who lost to Trump, that I said she would lose, and the entire planet said that she would win. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Not only deleting 30,000 emails, but you will hear, once again, from the Honorable James Comey doing things that would make these Democrats, who knows how they would react if Trump had engaged in that behavior. But the Supreme Court will side with Trump, I think very possibly citing the way the former Federal Bureau of Investigation allowed Clinton to have secret servers that somehow, some way transferred top secret intelligence, in addition to the fact that half of the emails Clinton had were deleted, destroyed by her attorneys, allegedly by her attorneys. And that was just fine for Democrats. In addition to a whole bunch of very bizarre things you will hear in a second. But let's listen to this. The Supreme Court will likely hear every case that's highly contentious pertaining to President Trump. Trump will not enforce a lot of these cases. He doesn't have to, just like AOC and Ron Wyden said. These are nationwide injunctions in many cases that span beyond the jurisdiction of the courts in question. But here, let's listen to this. This is very amusing from indignant Democrats who have nothing. This signal, it's embarrassing. It was a group chat where the Atlantic writer was apparently invited. The question is, how on earth did they have his phone number even? But this was not Clinton's emails with top secret intelligence, almost certainly illegally transferred onto it for 4 years. This was not Clinton emails with 30,000 emails destroyed. It was servers running outside the United States government for 4 years as Clinton's traveled as Secretary of State and operated by people without security clearances. You'll hear all of this in a second from James Comey, but this is the morally indignant always Democrats who think they have a serious national security issue when they allowed the greatest debacle, the greatest cybersecurity nightmare in U.S. history with Clinton servers. Hit subscribe if you're new. Your super chat's greatly appreciated. Let's listen to Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe.
Notes, I've changed my mind about 1 million times what I'd like to talk about. I'd like to first start with Director Ratcliffe. I find it offensive for you to accuse me as a Democrat of not caring about national threats. I very much wanted to talk about those, in fact, had prepared questions in advance of this hearing about those threats, specifically about biosecurity and bioterrorism, but I don't have time to ask those questions because the threat is in the House.
You would rather talk about a signals chat with zero classified data as opposed to those major global concerns? Okay.
The threat is across the dais, and I need to ask these questions. It's my job to ask these questions of you. Because when I served in the military and I served in classified environments, had this happened to me, I would have walked my resignation in immediately.
And yet, Hillary Clinton had secret private servers for 4 years that you will hear the Honorable James Comey in a second explain was run by people without classified clearances, without security clearances. This was one of the better exchanges here because it's interesting. The Democrats don't realize that there was the most egregious example of cybersecurity like madness just less than around 10 years ago. Then you had issues with classified data possibly being summarized by Hunter. I mean, we can go on forever. I mean, Democrats make a mockery of classified data, but let's listen to this.
This is not okay. Communicating these sorts of things in Signal is not okay. Targets, times, those kinds of things are absolutely classified, and we all know it. I know it. These people know it. You all know it. And the fact that we're having to have these conversations now means that I can't ask the questions that I need to ask about things like bioterrorism and biosecurity. And so I'd like to put you in check as well.
The Congresswoman can ask any question she would like about the national security of our country. The choice is to ask questions about a signals chat while ignoring 4 years of classified data being emailed onto secret private servers. For the first 3 months, by the way, there are no emails for Clinton's emails. Literally for the first 3 months, you'll hear from the Honorable James Comey, she did not have emails. They were all either deleted or lost, quote unquote lost.
As well, sir, because you can't assume who I am any more than I can assume who you are, sir. I would like to move my questions, however, over to Director Gabbard, because you are the DNI. You do have an obligation and a responsibility. I'm going to speak to you specifically about the fact that you have spent much of your 40 days talking about the importance of making sure that we don't reveal classified information, making sure that we don't leak information. You're a former battalion commander in the Army. I don't think...
Really quickly, this is a very passionate, intelligent, experienced, knowledgeable Congresswoman. I'm wondering what she would think of this really quick.
Director, I have one question regarding my opening comment, and I view it as a most important question, and I hope you will answer it. Why was it necessary to announce 11 days before a presidential election that you were opening an investigation? Announcement.
Emails asked the team that had October 27th, the investigative team that had finished the investigation.
This isn't even the worst of the Clinton email debacle with classified data flying around. You're going to find out that classified data in President Obama's administration was literally being transferred, sent to Anthony Weiner's laptop. I wonder what the Honorable Congresswoman, who was trying to take the current intel officials to task in Trump's administration, I wonder what the Honorable Congresswoman and the Democrats who are livid about the Signal chat would think of the following. Hit subscribe if you're new.
In July, focused on Secretary Clinton's emails, asked to meet with me. So I met with them that morning, late morning, in my conference room, and they laid out for me what they could see from the metadata on this fella Anthony Weiner's laptop that had been seized in an unrelated case.
Well, gee, I wonder who this fella Anthony Weiner was. This fella.
What they could see from the metadata was that there were thousands of Secretary Clinton's emails on that device, including what they thought might be the missing emails from her first 3 months as Secretary of State. We never found any emails from her first 3 months.
So her first 3 months of emails as Secretary of State were almost certainly deleted? Missing? How are they missing? Okay, let's continue. That's bizarre. But wait, there's more. The Honorable James Comey will ensure that posterity and the known universe realizes finally that the Signal chat is a grain of sand in terms of embarrassment compared to the Mount Everest and Sahara Desert of cybersecurity breaches during the Clinton email probe also probably, but the Clinton email debacle.
She was using a Verizon BlackBerry then, and that's obviously very important because if there was evidence that she was acting with bad intent, that's where it would be in the first 3 months.
But they weren't there.
Look, can I just finish my answer, Senator?
Yeah.
And so they came in and said, we can see.
Would you let the man speak?
Thousands of emails from the Clinton email domain, including many, many, many from the Verizon Clinton domain, BlackBerry domain, They said, we think we got to get a search warrant to go get these. And the Department of Justice agreed we had to go get a search warrant. So I agreed. I authorized them to seek a search warrant, and then I faced a choice. And I've lived my entire career by the tradition that if you can possibly avoid it, you avoid any action in the run-up to an election that might have an impact, whether it's a dog catcher election or President of the United States. But I sat there that morning, and I could not see a door labeled "No Action Here." I could see two doors, and they were both actions. One was labeled "Speak," the other was labeled "Conceal."
What's behind door number "Speak"?
Because here's how I thought about it. I'm not trying to talk you into this, but I want you to know my thinking. Having repeatedly told this Congress, we are done and there's nothing there, there's no case there, there's no case there, to restart in a hugely significant way, potentially finding the emails that would reflect on her intent from the beginning and not speak about it would require an act of concealment, in my view. And so I stared at "Speak" and "Conceal." Speak would be really bad. There's an election in 11 days. Lordy, that would be really bad.
Lordy, lordy, lordy. I love the Honorable James Comey, and I hope that the Democrats in Congress listen to his testimony on continual loop over and over again, because he brilliantly explains why the Supreme Court will eventually back Trump when it probably gets to, almost certainly will get to the Supreme Court, for a number of reasons. The precedent was that apparently you can have private secret servers and nothing will happen as long as you didn't mean to have those servers. But let's continue really quickly. I should have just gone to the very important part from Comey's testimony for future generations to listen to. It's very interesting.
Concealing, in my view, would be catastrophic, not just to the FBI, but well beyond. And honestly, as between really bad and catastrophic, I said to my team, we've got to walk into the world of really bad. I've got to tell Congress that we're restarting this, not in some frivolous way, in a hugely significant way. And the team also told me we cannot finish this work before the election. And then they worked night after night after night, and they found thousands of new emails. They found classified information on Anthony Weiner. Somehow, her emails are being forwarded to Anthony Weiner, including classified information.
What was that? What? What? Let's just really quickly go back to the indignation of 2025.
Think that you would have necessarily appreciated the kind of leaking of information that I believe absolutely did happen in this signal channel and is worthy of a further investigation. In fact, this committee established something called 50 U.S.C. 3235A, and this committee, on a bipartisan, apartisan basis, requires you, the DNI, to swiftly notify Congress and the Intelligence Committee if you're aware of any sort of significant unauthorized disclosure or compromise of classified information.
Gee, was there what kind of... Oh, wait! Anthony Weiner was getting forwarded classified information according to the Honorable James Comey? What's this? Are you kidding me? And the signals chat is the end of this administration. Good luck getting the Bureau or anyone else to investigate anything. It was very embarrassing, very bad. Let's see what's a little bit worse, tiny bit worse.
Before the election. And then they worked night after night after night, and they found thousands of new emails. They found classified information on Anthony Weiner. Somehow, her emails are being forwarded to Anthony Weiner, including classified information by her assistant, Huma Abedin. And so they found thousands of new emails, and then called me the Saturday night. And so they found thousands of new emails, and then called me the Saturday information on Anthony Weiner. Somehow, on Anthony Weiner.
Classified data is being transferred. Forget the first 3 months, there's just no emails. Gee, I wonder if the federal record-keeping laws were broken. Gee, I wonder. Probably not, because it was a Democrat. And in the world Democrats live in of the whataboutism, oh, Trump is worse. Trump is not worse. This is a billion times more egregious. And Democrats fought tooth and nail to protect their nominee, who eventually lost to Trump the first time. But the indignation from Democrats today is it's so unbelievingly, mind-numbingly hypocritical, but let's just continue. This is just one example of classified data breaches. There's like 1,000. And the Honorable James Comey allowed the country to at least, it was an obvious political cover-up, but at least he was honest, or at least he was forthright in providing all the evidence. Well, actually, not all the evidence. We don't know how Clinton transferred top-secret intel onto servers, but at least James Comey provided some framework in terms of testimony to see the unmitigated disaster of national security and cybersecurity that took place under President Obama's administration while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. You're going to hear again classified data. Do you think The Atlantic would write a story on the classified data that was literally being transferred to Anthony Weiner, according to James Comey? I don't think they will. I just don't think they will. I wonder why.
Somehow her emails are being forwarded to Anthony Weiner, including classified information, by her assistant, Huma Abedin. And so they found thousands of new emails and then called me the Saturday night before the election and said, thanks to the wizardry of our technology, we've only had to personally read 6,000. We think we can finish tomorrow morning, Sunday. And so I met with them. And they said, we found a lot of new stuff. We did not find anything that changes our view.
And so you just heard years back, they were literally forwarding classified emails to people who were not, they were deliberately forwarding classified emails. This was a signals chat among officials that had clearance, and an Atlantic writer was inadvertently, accidentally added to it. Gee, I think there's a difference between secret private servers that eventually forward classified emails to the then husband, I believe, of Clinton's top official in her campaign, and a signals chat. But let's continue. This is all ancient history to Democrats, but let's continue.
Which I would argue this has all of the markings of being that. And so if you, as the DNI, see such a thing anywhere within your organization's purview, you have the obligation to begin an investigation to report back to us on that. Would this seem to qualify to you as something worthy of that investigation?
Thank you for your question, Congresswoman. In this situation, Secretary...
I love Tulsi Gabbard, by the way. I think she's fantastic. Kash Patel also. Let's continue.
Hegseth has the
Yes
classification
no?
and declassification authority over DOD information.
This chat did not have the auspice of being a DOD chat. There's no such thing as labeling it as DOD. This was a chat amongst a great variety of people, and you, according to our law that we passed here bipartisanly, have an obligation when you think there has been a tangible, significant leak of information to instigate an investigation. Do you not think it's important to do such a thing?
Well, the National Security Council is investigating
Yes or no?
this inadvertent leak. And again, I point to Secretary Hegseth as having the classification.
I would argue that Secretary
authority.
Hegseth, if he had the dignity that he needs to have, should be walking his resignation in, because I believe that his probably is heading toward being relieved of his duty based on what I think are significant and illegal leaks, most likely.
I don't recall Hillary Clinton resigning like Biden was forced to do when we found out that classified data was being forwarded, according to the Honorable James Comey, to Anthony Weiner, and that for her first 3 months of emails were lost, missing, deleted. Okay. I don't believe anyone called for Clinton's resignation when she had secret private servers that had classified data, SAP intel, top secret intelligence on them, almost illegally emailed or transferred somehow, because it's not even possible from a cybersecurity perspective. President Obama allegedly didn't even know that Clinton had servers. Let's continue. This was a signals chat. The Democrats always, it's like, secret private servers, forget about it. You should never even, it's totally fine. It was inadvertent. Accidental signals chat invitation to Atlantic writer, resign!
I would like it if you would please commit to this organization that you will follow the law. And I would like it if you would also investigate what is likely to be more than just this chat. Because if there's one, there's more than one. If there's smoke, there's fire. Would you please obligate yourself and your organization to that investigation?
Yeah, Congresswoman, yes, I will follow the law.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Director Patel, I learned just recently that you only heard about this yesterday, which blows my mind since I heard about it 2 days ago, and I'm just a low on the dais, junior chipmunk here. Did you really only hear about this yesterday?
The exact timeline I'm not aware of, but yeah, I think it was yesterday or the night before.
And now that another day has passed, do you believe...
Well, actually, it was the night before the hearing.
Now that another day has passed, do you believe that it's now time potentially for the FBI to open an investigation into this?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Because you're the director.
There is a 0% chance the Federal Bureau of Investigation will open an investigation on an embarrassing invitation to an Atlantic writer on a signals chat when the same agency did not find intent for a Secretary of State who had secret private servers for 4 years. Okay, let's just really quickly take a trip down memory lane. They wanted resignations and a serious investigation. Let's listen to the previous serious investigation of the greatest national security and cybersecurity nightmare of all time. Check this out. This is Jason Chaffetz asking the Honorable James Comey.
Thank you. I think if you yield back, through mutual agreement, Mr. Cummings and I have agreed that I do have about a dozen or so quick follow-up questions. You've been most generous with your time, but I would like to get through these last bit. Okay. And again, we'll do so with equal time. How did the Department of Justice, or how did the FBI view the incident in which Hillary Clinton instructed Jake Sullivan to take the markings off of a document that was to be sent to her?
So this is just one example, one of the thousands of examples of cybersecurity breaches. According to the testimony here, Clinton had Jake Sullivan, later in Biden's administration, remove the marking of a classified document to send it to somebody easier, okay, in an unclassified manner. I think this alone is infinitely worse than an embarrassing signals chat. But listen to what the Federal Bureau, the Honorable James Comey says happened.
Yeah, we looked at that pretty closely. There was some problem with their secure fax machine, and there's an email in which she says, in substance, take the headers off of it and send it as a non-paper. As we've dug into that more deeply, we've come to learn that, at least there's one view of it that is reasonable, that a non-paper in State Department parlance means a document that contains things we could pass to another government. So essentially take out anything that's classified and send it to me. Now, it turned out that didn't happen because we actually found that the classified fax was then sent, but that's our best understanding of what that was about.
So this was a classified fax?
Correct.
So Hillary Clinton sends to Jake Sullivan, let me go back. Jake Sullivan says, they say they had issues sending secure fax. They're working on it. Hillary Clinton sends to Jake Sullivan, if they can't, turn into non-paper with no identifying heading and send non-secure. So you're telling me it's a classified piece of information. She's taking off the header and she's instructing them to send it in a non-secure format. Is that not intent?
Well, it actually caught my attention when I first saw it, and what she explained to us during our interview was, and other witnesses did as well, is what she meant by that is make it into a non-classified document. That's what a non-paper is in their world, and send it to us, because I don't need the classified stuff, I just need the...
Then why take off the heading? If it's going to be turned into a non-classified document, why take off the heading?
I assume because it would be non-classified anymore, so you wouldn't have a classified header on it. I think is what she said during our
So she wanted to be technically correct? Is that what you're saying? That you're...
No, I think what she said during the interview is, I was telling him, in essence, send me an unclassified document. Take the header off, turn it into a non-paper, which is a term I'd never heard before, but I'm told by people I credit that in diplomatic circles that means something we can pass.
It was almost certainly a classified document that couldn't be sent because it was classified. So then she told Sullivan to simply send the classified document in a way that it could be sent through a non-classified channel. Okay, which of course is not legal, but whatever. It's Democrats doing it, so it's all good.
To another government.
You are very generous in your accepting of that. Let me ask you, Director, did any uncleared individuals receive any classified information?
And now we get to the Atlantic. Wondering, so the whole big thing is that, oh, the Atlantic writer, he shouldn't have been on the Signals chat. Let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we?
Over Hillary Clinton's server.
Did any uncleared people receive classified information? I don't think any of the correspondence on the classified emails were uncleared people. These were all people with clearances.
Kind of like the Signals chat, but without the whole pesky private servers for 4 years thing, transferring top secret intel thing. But let's continue.
Doing State Department business on the unclassed system.
Did Mr. Pagliano have the requisite security clearance?
As I sit here today, I can't remember. He was not a participant on the classified email exchanges, though.
But he was running the server. He set it up.
That's a different question. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question then. Yeah, there's no doubt that uncleared people had access to the server because
There's no doubt that uncleared people without security clearance had access to Clinton servers for 4 years. The same servers that funneled classified data onto cell phones for 4 years. Okay. And Democrats didn't get... This is why the Democratic Party cannot win another presidential contest. They cannot win until they realize that the corruption within their political party is so immensely greater than anything they accuse President Trump and his administration. The Signals chat was embarrassing. The Signals chat was a security breach. The Signals chat apparently didn't have classified data. Okay? The Signals chat probably, it was a security breach, probably alluded to classified data, and it was a security breach. It wasn't 4 years. It wasn't 4 years of secret private servers operated by people without security clearances, with access to the classified data. It also didn't forward classified emails to Anthony Weiner, like the Honorable James Comey stated, which is one of the reasons why he wrote the Comey letter. Okay? So this is all congressional testimony. The congressional testimony alone exonerates everyone involved in the whole signal, aside from the Atlantic writer. We don't know exactly how on earth did the people on that chat get the Atlantic writer's phone number. But they want people to resign. Where were the resignations in Clinton's email debacle? Not one. They didn't even show up to subpoenas. They didn't even show up to congressional testimony. The people running Clinton's server, according to Jason Chaffetz, didn't even show up for testimony. Then you had Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, receive, jail time for not showing up to testimony, congressional subpoenas. I mean, it's like the double standard. But again, most Democrats, most people have no clue of any of this.
Even after Pagliano, there were others who maintained the server who were private sector folks.
So there are hundreds of classified documents on these servers. How many people without a security clearance had access to that server?
I don't know the exact number as I sit here. It's probably more than 2, less than 10.
More than 2, less than 10, could be 3, could be 9, could be 4, could be 8, could be 5, could be 7, could even be 6 people. More than 2, less than 8. Probably more than less than 10. Probably more than 10. But anyway, the Democrats are going, oh my God, the signals chat. Here's the deal. Here's the deal, man. Like Biden said, here's the deal, man. If they forced Clinton out in 2016 and said, no, we can't do this, then the signals chat would be a big deal. See, the hypocrisy is not ignoring the signals chat. Oh, but her emails. Oh, but no. It was servers. It was a legitimate national security nightmare. Forwarding classified data to Anthony Weiner, according to the Honorable James Comey. I mean, and then having servers run for 4 years operated by people without security clearances. But a signals chat should force Hegseth to resign. How does that work? I just want to know how that works in the minds of Democrats. But let's continue.
I appreciate your willingness to follow up with this. Did Secretary Clinton's attorneys have the security clearances needed?
They did not.
Does that concern you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Is there any consequence to an attorney rifling through Hillary Clinton's emails without a security clearance?
Well, not necessarily criminal consequences, but there's a great deal of concern about an uncleared person not subject to the requirements we talked about in the read-in documents potentially having access. That's why very, very important for us to recover everything we can back from attorneys.
So what's the consequence? I mean, here, Hillary Clinton gave direction to her attorneys without a security clearance to go through documents that were classified.
Yeah, I think that's what happened in fact. Whether that was the direction is a question I can't answer sitting here.
So you're parsing that one a little bit for me.
No, you were just asking me. I don't
What's
know.
the consequence? They don't work for the government. We can't fire them.
Right.
So is there no criminal prosecution of those?
There were, of course, no criminal prosecution of the people who operated and ran those servers, because obviously that would lead to criminal prosecution of Hillary and possibly Bill also. Okay, they were paid by the Clintons to operate secret servers. They did not have classified security clearances. Obviously, it was not lawful. They did not get the okay from anyone in the U.S. government. Apparently, nobody in the U.S. government knew. But, of course, people had to know. The servers were connected to government networks. You don't have to be Elon Musk or a billionaire or you don't have to be Neil deGrasse Tyson or Einstein or you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to understand that connecting private servers to government networks is not only almost certainly illegal, but it's impossible from a cybersecurity perspective. There's no way that anyone on the planet is going to receive an email from a government official unless, like the Atlantic writer, they're invited. But see, if the invitation to the Atlantic writer was a cause célèbre and the end of the world, how do you then categorize connecting private servers for 4 years to secure government networks where classified data flows through them, and being able to transfer the classified data for 4 years onto those secret servers run by people without clearances? I'm just wondering, for all the national security wonks on the Democratic Party side.
Attorneys, should they lose their bar license? What's the consequence to that?
Well, if they acted with criminal intent or acted with some malintent.
What you're telling us is it doesn't matter if you have a security clearance or not. Because I may be innocent enough. Hey, I'm just an attorney. I like the secretary. I'm trying to help Hillary Clinton. I'm not trying to give it to the Chinese or the Russians. I'm just trying to help her. So there's no intent? It doesn't matter if these people have security clearances?
Of course it matters. That's why I said that.
But there's no consequence, Director. There's no consequence.
Well, I don't know what consequence you'd have in mind. Very
prosecute them.
An attorney for receiving from his client information that ends up being classified.
They prosecuted Trump's attorneys for much less, which most of it was completely fabricated. But let's continue.
I asked you at the very beginning, does there a reasonable expectation that Hillary Clinton would send and receive, if not daily, hourly, if not daily, classified information? That's reasonable to think that the Secretary of State would get classified information at every moment. She's not the head of Fish and Wildlife. So the idea that she would turn over her emails, her system, her server to what it sounds like up to 10 people without security clearances, and there's no consequence. So why not do it again?
That's a question I don't think you should put to me. You're asking, I'm talking about my criminal investigation.
But how can that, there's no intent there? Does she not understand that these people don't have security clearances?
Surely she understands at least some of them don't have security clearances.
So if she understands they don't have security clearances, and it's reasonable to think she's going to be in classified information, is that not intent to provide a non-cleared person access to classified information?
You're mixing it up, though. I don't think it's reasonable to assume, mixing me up, sorry, it's not your fault, that someone who is maintaining your server is reading your emails. In fact, I don't think that's the case here.
Why wouldn't you assume that?
There's a separate thing, which is when she's engaging counsel to comply with the State Department's request, are her lawyers then exposed to information that may be on there that's classified?
And did they see any classified information? Did Hillary Clinton's attorneys, without security clearances, see classified information?
I sit here, I don't know the answer to that.
It has to be yes, Director. You came across 110, and they said they went through all of them.
Well, they didn't read them all. They just looked at headers.
So their excuse is, we saw the emails, but we didn't read them?
No, I think I said this in my statement on Tuesday. They sorted the emails by using headers and search terms to try and find work-related emails. We read them all.
In the most outlandish episode, one of the most outlandish episodes in U.S. history, Clinton's attorneys sifted through thousands of emails trying to find work, allegedly going through search terms, not, of course, ensuring that any incriminating emails would be given to the official records or government records, for FOIA requests. But they went through search terms. The attorneys without security clearances looked at thousands of a Secretary of State's emails and used search terms to unilaterally decide what was classified and what wasn't. I'm not making it up. You just heard from the Honorable James Comey here. It is so outlandish. It is so outlandish that only Democrats would come up with this and say it's totally fine, and then be completely indignant about a Signals group chat without any classified data. It's like a Reddit thread. Okay. It's not like you don't have you don't have top secret intelligence on that, but you had top secret intelligence on Clinton's emails. But let's continue.
I know that you read them all. Do you think it's reasonable or unreasonable to think that her attorneys, under her direction, did or did not read those emails? Because there were, let me go back to this, yes or no. Were there or were there not classified emails that Hillary Clinton's attorneys read?
I don't know whether they read them at the time.
Did Hillary Clinton give non-cleared people access to classified information?
Yes. Yes.
So Clinton gave access to non-cleared people. Yes, that's the Honorable James Comey. Did the people on the Signals chat give the Atlantic writer access inadvertently and accidentally? They didn't say, here you go, manage our private secret servers, Atlantic writer. So again, it's unbelievable. This is the same Atlantic that publishes quotes derived from anonymous sourcing of people who despise Trump, but almost certainly despise Trump. But let's continue.
What do you think her intent was?
I think then was to get good legal representation and to make the production to the State Department.
To get good legal representation and then do what else with the emails? To sift through and decide what would be embarrassing, possibly criminal, possibly foundation material, possibly whatever that has nothing to do with the State Department. Half of Clinton's emails were not work related. Go to any corporation or government building in this country. Do you think half of the emails are personal? I would probably venture to say no.
It could be a very tall order in that circumstance. I don't see the evidence there to make a case that she was acting with criminal intent in her engagement with her lawyers.
And I guess I read in criminal intent as the idea that you allow somebody without a security.
And certainly no criminal intent with a Signals chat, but certainly 100% criminal intent with secret private servers.
Clearance, access to classified information. Everybody knows that, Director. Everybody knows that. I've gone way past my time. Let me recognize Mr. Cummings for an equal.
And now you have National Security Advisor Mike Waltz addressing the issue right here. But the context is, how dare you allow this Atlantic writer on this Signals chat? And it's like, it was an accident, number one. It wasn't secret private servers run by people without security clearances, literally paid to run secret servers and connect secret servers to government networks. How on earth is that even allowed? How on earth is that not highly illegal? Of course it was. It's also impossible from a national security standpoint. But Democrats, it's like they don't get that the entire world sees the hypocrisy and the double standard and the fact that they're more corrupt. They still don't get it. They're running on 2005, 2006 political software. You see, a Signals chat. This is a big outrage. And it's like, no, nobody cares about that. You give us servers, and then yeah, that'll be hypocritical. But they don't get that. They think they're going up against the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. Like they're stuck in the late 90s, early 2000s. They don't understand that the electorate has passed them by in terms of what's important to the electorate. They just don't get it. And then, these judges are stopping these flights. Well, you know what? The due process, that's an important issue, but you're talking about a situation where Biden did not enforce laws, even with criminal organizations. So the average American has had enough. The Democrats are so lost. It's unbelievable. But let's continue.
The principals who was on that Signal chat, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Advisor Waltz, thank you for joining us tonight. The president expressed complete confidence in you today and his entire cabinet. But how did a Trump-hating editor of The Atlantic end up on your Signal chat?
Laura, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but of all the people out there, somehow this guy who has lied about the president, who has lied to Gold Star families, lied to their attorneys, and gone to Russia hoax, gone to just all kinds of links to lie and smear the president of the United States. And he's the one that somehow gets on somebody's contact and then gets sucked into this group.
Is someone in your intel? Is someone in your intel team trying to cause trouble here? Because that's the scuttlebutt out there.
Look,
that
we have people. No, look, this is a great group. The president has a great team. This is not first term.
No, your team. I'm not talking about the other principals.
No. These were principals and a couple of staff that were coordinating, as you saw, having a policy discussion as we went forward. And then just in the days before what was an incredible strike. Not only did we take out people that the Biden team never could, that we took out headquarters, missile caches, and actually one of the leaders of the Houthi organization. We've since taken out several since. And, that's what they don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the success here. They don't want to talk about the hostages getting released. They don't want to talk about the Black Sea ceasefire that we just put in place today as the president ends the largest land war in Europe, or the border, or the fact that Panama just kicked China out of the canal, and success after success after success. So they want to focus on this. It's embarrassing, yes. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I just talked to Elon on the way here. We've got the best technical minds looking at how this happened. But I can tell you for 100%, I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation, and he really is the bottom scum of journalists. And I know him in the sense that he hates the president, but I don't text him. He wasn't on my phone, and we're going to figure out how this happened.
So you don't know what staffer is responsible for this right now?
Well, look, a staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the number? I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
So your staffer did not put his contact information. But how did it end up in your phone?
Well, that's what we're trying to.
Is this reminiscent of the Honorable James Comey's testimony? Is this reminiscent of classified emails being forwarded to Anthony Weiner, according to the Honorable James Comey? Is this reminiscent of 4 years of people without security clearances running secret servers connected to secure government networks that somehow, some way, almost certainly illegally transferred top secret SAP, special access program intelligence, confidential classified data, sensitive data to servers of the Secretary of State for 4 years, traveling around the world, that even President Obama apparently, of course, he almost certainly knew, but is this reminiscent of that? No, of course not. But see, the Clinton years are ancient history, except when the Kremlin engaged in a campaign to deceive impressionable Americans and interfere in 2016. Then, oh my God, it's like yesterday. But that time period also had, a secret private server whole thing, whatever. It's all about the signals chat.
We're trying to figure out.
Okay, but that's a pretty big problem.
That's what we've got the best technical minds, right?
That's disturbing.
And that's where, I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in,
you that
it gets
contact.
sucked in.
Was there someone else supposed to be on the chat that wasn't on the chat that you thought was?
So the person that I thought was on there was never on there. It was this
Who
guy.
was that? What person?
Well, I'm not. Look, okay. Laura.
So I saw that article the other day, and I was about to click on it. I said, I am not going to fall for the bait. I am not going to click on that Atlantic article. The Atlantic used to be an amazing, wonderful publication with brilliant writers and honest and, I should say honorable journalists. This was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, okay? It was not always, far left, ideologically far left or liberal. It was in many ways a lot more conservative 20, 30 years ago, a lot more. But the Atlantic like a bunch of other publications, the Washington Post, New York Times, there's not one single supporter of Trump, yet Trump won the popular vote, and he's a two-term president. So what does that tell you? Almost certainly there's more to the story than, oh, the Trump administration sent me their war plans. Oh my God! Not since Clinton's secret private servers have we had such a security breach. Actually, the secret servers, it was inadvertent. It was for yoga, and there was nothing wrong with that, even though classified data was flowing through into secret servers that were run by people that didn't have security clearances. But that's not a problem. It's all about the signals chat. Again, how that writer got on there, that is potentially a story unto itself.
I take responsibility. I built the group.
Okay.
So but look, that's the part that we have to figure out, and that's the part that we embarrass.
And by the way, when you read this amazing signals chat, it's, you hear like the Trump administration sent me, the incompetent people, the Trumpers, the toothless Trumpers. They sent me, an Atlantic writer, their war plans. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it for 1 second. I thought that this government would protect national security secrets in the manner that Clinton did, forwarding them to Huma Abedin's then a significant other. Forwarding classified data to Anthony Weiner, according to James Comey. But no, much more nefarious. They texted me, essentially, a Reddit forum group chat where they were cheering, and I looked, and the incendiaries were descending right at the same time as I was listening to the chat that I was not supposed to be on. But we won't talk about that. Resign! Hegseth, resign!
Yes, but Pete and I are veterans. We know these operations. He has been an excellent Secretary of Defense, and this was an operation that, it amazes me. I guess the Democrats were fine to leave all the sea lanes shut down. We're fine to have destroyers fired on dozens of times by this terrorist group, and fine to have Iran keep supplying them missiles. That was okay. The president takes decisive action. And now we're seeing some real success in taking down their air defenses, opening the sea lanes, taking out their leadership. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about.
I was just on my phone writing the next article about how Trump tried to sell the planet to the Martians. And I get this. I'm on this group chat with high-level Trump officials. What's this? Oh my God. They're talking about potentially classified data. Quick, I'm going to write about it and publicize everything because it might harm Trump. Wait, you mean you're asking me how I actually got on the chat? That's not what this story is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about how bad they are, how incompetent, and how everyone should resign, and that Biden should take back his place among the great leaders of this world. Harris should. Who's the new nominee now? Oh, Harris. Not how I found it. It was an accident. I got it in a signals thing. It was a signal. I don't know how they got my phone number. I have no clue how they got my phone number. And I have nothing to do with how they got my phone number. Why would I have anything to do with that? That's ridiculous. Absurd! Absurd, I tell you!
Mr. President, are you going to change any of the practices that your national security officials used after a reporter was inadvertently added to a group chat about attacks on Yemen?
Well, I think it's a question I've been asked now, and I've given a few answers, and they've all been the same. We have an amazing group. Our national security now is stronger than it's ever been. We have had a very, very successful, numerous attacks on that area. These are people that shoot down ships, not only our ships, ships all over the world. They're shooting down right out of the water and damaging them badly, or they're going down. They're also shooting anything that happens to be flying in the area. We hit them very, very hard. There was no classified information, as I understand it. They used a app, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use. And I think I'll ask Mike. Mike is here. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yes, Mr. President.
He's like, not again. I don't want to talk about this again, my God.
President, you asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action.
But only one person defeated cornflakes, and that's you-know-who. Come on, man. Push-ups, man. What is that, George Clooney, man? You're forcing me out, man. I'm very upset, man. I'll get you back, man.
With his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites. And for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. You're welcome. We had a national security team that was coordinating these efforts. As Director Radcliffe testified today, his first day on the job, he was introduced to this app on his government systems at the CIA and at the State Department and otherwise. So, look, this journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes and knocking the crap out of terrorists, which is exactly what your team and Pete Hegseth, a good friend and fellow veteran, is leading the charge on. And it's an honor.
We had a very, very successful, we had a very, very successful evening, and we've had numerous successful evenings and days in that area. The Houthis are absolutely on the run. The worst of them has been killed. This should have been done a long time ago by Biden, but Biden was an incompetent president. He couldn't do anything. He didn't know where he was going. He had no clue. This guy had no clue. This should have been done a long time ago. As they shoot missiles at ships, randomly shoot missiles at ships, and they make their own missiles. You know, this is not an incompetent group of people. They make their own missiles. They get the missiles also from Iran. It's an offshoot of Iran, another offshoot. You have Hamas, you have Hezbollah, you have the Houthis. You got a lot of stuff going on with Iran. And we sent a letter to Iran. You're going to have to be speaking to us one way or the other pretty soon, because we can't let this happen. But that's an app that a lot of people use. And somebody got on. I mean, happened to know the guy's a total sleazebag. The Atlantic is a failed magazine. Does very, very poorly. Nobody gives a damn about it. This gives it a little bit of a shot. And I will tell you this: that they've made up more stories. And they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that. He's a very good man. That man is a very good man right there that you criticize so strongly. He's a very good man, and he will continue to do a good job. In addition to him, we had very good people in that meeting, and those people have done a very, very effective job, and you're going to see it. And it goes on, by the way. It's going to go on. And I think the Houthis wish that it didn't happen, but that's what it's all about. We have to create a safe country, a safe world, and that's what we're doing.
Do you worry that national security was put at risk, Mr. President?
Of senior officials using Signal.
Do I plan to ban who?
The use of Signal to communicate from senior officials.
Well, I don't know I don't know anything about Signal. I wasn't involved in this, but I just heard about it. And I hear it's used by a lot of groups. It's used by the media a lot. It's used by a lot of the military, and I think successfully, but sometimes somebody can get onto those things. That's one of the prices you pay when you're not sitting in the Situation Room with no phones on, which is always the best, frankly. But the best is to be there. In fact, oftentimes I've been in fact, just last week I was in the Situation Room on something very important, and we had a couple of people hooked up by line, and I said, cancel the line. Sorry, fellas, what you do is we'll tell you all about the meeting, because I know people do get on those lines, whether it's Signal or anything else. Yeah.
So are you going to change any procedures as a result of this?
Well, I mean, look, we look at everything, and they've made a big deal out of this because we've had 2 perfect months. We are bringing in business. We have another one announced tomorrow, a big one, very big, like in the history of our country. Nobody's ever seen anything like it, and I think probably a lot of people are saying they started by saying it was the greatest first month that a president has ever had, and I think that's true. And now they say it's the best second month, and they had to find something. And this certainly will look at this, but the main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. It was, I guess, from what I understand, took place during, and it wasn't classified information. So this was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag, so maybe that's just coincidence. I don't know.
But you are going to.
It'll be interesting during this lawsuit to find out exactly how the Atlantic writer was invited. Because if Mike Waltz is correct and he didn't want to invite this gentleman, how on earth was the gentleman invited? Anyway, hit subscribe. I'll see you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Jeff, thank you. And to my super chat, thank you. And I will see you all this evening, everybody. We'll have a live stream around 10:30. Thanks, everybody.